Hey everybody. So my wife and I are getting prepared for a pretty sort of crazy anniversary trip where we intend to take our bicycles from near where we live in Washington D.C. all the way up to Pittsburgh, where I grew up. So to sort of prepare for that trip, and looking back at the memories that I had on the trail with my brother, just I guess an overall desire to squeeze in a midsummer adventure, something that I can look back on. I started to think that maybe I could tackle this thing in a day. Now, granted, I had no reason to think that I could. Certainly nothing that I'd ever done would support that idea. Now, I had no idea if I could. I think the longest single ride that I had ever done was just a little over 100 miles. And this was going to be, the C&O Canal itself is billed at 184.5 miles, I think, specifically. But the problem is there's detours, right? So there's parts of the canal that are closed. Some of those take you through some towns. And I didn't know it yet, but I was also going to make my own, I guess, series of errors and mistakes along the way that was going to tack on a little bit more distance. So I had no idea if I could do this. Now, fortunately for me, my wife was an incredible support throughout this thing. Not only did she let me do it, which isn't always a given, but she was an incredible support throughout the entire ride. I can say with a fair degree of certainty that there's no way that this ride would have happened if she wasn't out there roaming the Maryland countryside, waiting to swoop in and help when needed. So she took basically an entire weekend to entertain my nonsense and came through in several very specific, very key ways that made this trip possible. So yeah, she's awesome. So the hotel was absolutely amazing. It's the Fairfield Inn, right up in Cumberland on the trail. In fact, it's at the juncture between the C&O Canal Trail and the Great Allegheny Passage. Obviously, we don't always sleep the best when we're in a hotel, but both my wife and I had a really, really good night's sleep. Room was perfect, bed was perfect, everything was quiet, the temperatures were good. And they understand where they're at on the trail, right? So these guys are entirely set up to support bicycles as they come through, with repair stands, air, all sorts of other bicycle stuff that will come in handy if you're passing through.
Kisses. Bonus. Yeah.
Do it.
Really? I love you, baby. Morning. First time.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah. This far north, anyway.
Yeah. Now, this is my first time just walking out of the hotel.
Yeah, no, it's right on the path. It's wonderful.
Yeah. It is an amazing path, and it goes and goes and goes. I get all the way to Georgetown. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Hope to make my way by the end of the night.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a good trip.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
to say maybe 15 or so miles, 12, 15 miles west of Hancock. I sprung a couple leaks in my rear tire. I stopped a few times to try to see if I could address it. They weren't clotting as well as I'd hoped, but they were clotting enough to keep some air in. So I kept on sort of foolishly convincing myself that if I just, if I give it another mile, give it another 5 minutes or so of pedaling, it'll sort of right itself. And it was silly. I should have just stopped. I had a tubeless repair kit. I had bacon strips. I had the means to correct this on me. But knowing that would have taken more time, and seeing that I was already losing time each time I stopped to try to get some air back in these tires, I was reluctant to do the full investment, right? To take the thing apart and do what I needed to do. So I just kept on limping along, and before you know it, an hour had ticked by. Once you add up the different stops to look at it, to try to mess with it, to put air back in. Now, fortunately for me, my wife was still in the area, right? So she took her, she had a slow morning. She went actually for a long walk on the canal. So she was still up in that part of the world. And she was able to get ahead of me out in the Hancock and find a bike shop that was right on the trail. She went in, coordinated with them, got them up to speed on what I was seeing, what I was running into. So by the time I rolled into Hancock, these guys were already expecting me.
What's that?
The repair shop. You have to go in, but it's like.
She's got them all queued up. I was able to get right off the trail, and they threw the bike up on the rack. And even better yet, because they were going to do a no full-in professional repair on the tire, it let me have a sort of an unexpected lunch date with her. So it was unexpected, and it was very appreciated. Between trying to fix the tire myself, which cost me about an hour, and then the stop in Hancock, where I was able to get the tire fixed and have a decent lunch, I was probably down 2.5 hours at that point, sort of behind schedule. So that was wearing on me. So the C&O Canal Bike Shop, no, these guys came through, they fixed it super quick, they fixed it super cheap. I think the whole thing cost me probably $15. If you're in the area and going through Hancock, do yourself a favor, stop in, and they have tons of souvenirs, tons of bicycle gear. Certainly saved my day. So yeah.
You're welcome. If you need anything, call me.
I will.
I'll be wandering around Frederick, wherever take your sounding.
Oh,
Good?
yep. Love you. Bye. Trying to get to Georgetown.
Okay. Yeah, we're headed to Shepherdstown. Started in Cumberland.
That's where I was this morning.
Were you? Yeah, that's where we started.
Had a bunch of flats and just general calamity.
Really? Yeah.
Have fun. I am at White's Ferry. Do you remember if they have free water? God, my helmet is covered in spider webs. Holy shit. I don't even know how that many spider webs got on me. Get out of here. I need to get my, well no, I'm stopped because I need to get this. Am I going the right way? Whoa! I suppose you know where the daggone C&O Canal ends. Yeah. 2 blocks up?
Yeah, you'll see the big wooden canal.
Okay. Thank you. It's right here. No. Says trailhead.
So by the time it's all said and done, this ride, obviously I got into DC at, I want to say about 1:30 in the morning. You see people talk about how hard it is to find mile zero, or the first mile marker, the first landmark on the C&O Canal, and I sort of laughed it off. Like I can generally find stuff. I just assumed that was something that was going to be easier than it ended up being. I also don't know that I accounted for how difficult everything would be. when you're, you know, at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, after pedaling all day long, right? So there's, you have fog, right? You're not firing on all cylinders. So it was actually really, really hard to find. Hell, I couldn't even find the C&O Canal for a portion of it, like you saw. So we ended up wandering around DC, and again, I've had this poor girl out all day long, you know, keeping tabs on me. I didn't want to drag her around further. So, you know, we finally meet up with her and get back to the Jeep, which oddly enough was at the Thompson Boat Center. So we ended up right sort of at the end anyway. But it was an awesome ride. Absolutely recommend the C&O Canal Trail. My wife and I are dying to do this longer ride to go all the way up to Pittsburgh, where I grew up, and it's a beautiful, scenic, historic route that it's just fun to spend your day on, right? Whether you're going to do 100 miles, 200 miles, 10 miles, whatever it is, this is a fun ride. I can tell you firsthand that you will see people of all skill levels, of all experience, of all age, of all fitness levels. It's just a great place to go out and have fun and be sort of around nature and enjoy the world around you. So I got to get another adventure under the belt, and obviously with a tremendous thank you to my wife Trish and the people out at C&O Bicycle, both of which, like I said, this ride wouldn't have happened the way it did. I wouldn't have got down to the finish line had it not been for their involvement. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.